Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. Those of you who follow my show know that I'm all about celebrating artists and their body of worth. Before we get to today's very special guest, I'd like to take a moment to say thank you, Helen Reddy and Mac Davis, for the incredible gifts that you gave to the world and will continue to give through your music. Today marks 202 days since the Broadway theater shut down, and that includes concerts, cabarets, music around the world. But you can't stop the music, especially the music that beats within all of us. And I am very, very excited to introduce today the one and only Sarah Dash. Now, before I get to Sarah, I want to say that on August 18th, I saw in the paper that it was Sarah's birthday. And I am a huge, huge fan. And so I actually wrote to Sarah. I think it went into a spam folder or something. But a couple of weeks ago, I had the good fortune to interview David Joseph, who is a mutual friend. And I think Sarah was watching the show at the time. And lo and behold, David reached out to me and said, Sarah would like to be interviewed by you. And I practically jumped out of my skin because I truly had a Christmas morning experience in the middle of August. And I am so thrilled to be here with Sarah Dash. How are you, Sarah?
I am fine. How are you? It is such a delight to meet you. I've heard so much about you.
Well, it's all made up.
And I think most of it is true. Another friend of mine, and he's also a David too, Dr. David Rosenberg. And watching you with David, my mask maker, it was so fun, so much fun to see.
Well,
and I'm good. So the answer to my question.
And, before we get into your incredible legacy and history, to ask how you're doing really in the midst of this crazy world we find ourselves in right now.
I sometimes find it difficult to proceed daily. But I'm one of these people who pray, David. I pray, Richard, I pray. And I do my affirmations every morning. Sometimes I feel that's not always enough. But then you pull onto the strength of the core of that strength, and it empowers you. So missing the road, missing traveling. Thank God I set up some equipment here to do bits of rehearsals and mics, ring lights, and that sort of thing.
I mean, Sarah, when you think about the fact that, for myself as well, most of our work is on the other side of the footlights in front of the cameras. Yeah. And we've, almost every artist I know has had to learn the technical aspect of this business. And I always try to look for the gift in everything. And one of the gifts that I think that it's come out of this for those of us in the business, and you have to admit, we have a greater appreciation for those people who do the sound and the lights and everything to make a show come together.
That's true. You think about your team and the input that they have provided for you to be the performer you are, to know that they have families as well. They have responsibilities of their lifestyle that needs to be constantly fed. And the costume makers, the men who repair our shoes, my makeup artist, my assistant, um, we all have a strong unit and a tight spiritual bond that keeps us connected. However, to know that this is such a game changer, this time of pandemic, it has allowed me to do more introspective work. I will say that.
Mhm.
Look at the things that I may not have noticed about Sarah, and how can I improve upon being a better person? Can I sing a little differently? That has happened with me,
Mhm.
Richard.
Now, I know that,
Now, yeah, go
one
ahead.
thing that we've all learned is the phrase essential workers. And
Yes,
my feeling is that every single person on this planet is an essential worker, an essential.
that's true.
And for me, this time is a pause to really reflect on the things that we take for granted. We take for granted that when we grab a Sarah Dash album, and I have on the screen here what was my first Sarah Dash album, but the times that we pick up an album and we put it on and we feel the album is automatically going to play. We're going to buy tickets for a show, and we're going to show up at the venue, and the show's going to go on as planned. And all these things that we take for granted, I don't think that we can ever take these things for granted ever, ever again.
Well put, Richard. I mean, I think about how people are feeding their families, their there are people who will never ever, I can't say ever, won't be employed in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
The I worry about families at this point in time. I'm concerned about those single mothers who have only, one house, one home income. They have children that they put on the bus stop every morning, and they all go to work and they come back home. Sometimes hardly making it. And that's where I'm greatly concerned in terms of how will they feed their families. Um, and then I have to go back to the core of being an artist myself. And there are some artists who are having the same issues, having the same problems of paying bills. I look at my situation, and I'm not a millionaire. However, I have millionaire thoughts. uh, but just to be able to turn the light switch on at this time, to have water, clean water, being in my home during this time. I've had my washing machine broke down. um, there's issues with my upcoming heating things, and having the repairman come in my house, which I'm totally paranoid about. I have all kinds of footies and gloves and alcohol sprays and wipettes. How I just don't know how to explain this time, except thank God there is music.
Absolutely. There are two things that you brought up that I want to go back to. First of all, you talk about family, people having families.
Yes.
Something, my mom, glad you're sitting down for this, is the oldest of 16 children.
Oh.
I grew up in South Carolina, and I know that you also come from a huge family.
Yes, I do.
How many brothers and sisters did you have altogether? And I think you were, if I remember reading correctly, 7th in the lineup.
Yes, I'm 7 of 13 children, 6 over me, 6 under me. So that would make me the middle child. And my family is from South Carolina.
Are you serious?
By way of Barbados. We're Bayesian people.
Where in South Carolina?
Orangeburg, Columbia.
Okay, that's the other side of the state. I'm from Myrtle Beach.
You're from Myrtle Beach. And Ellery is where my mom was born. And yes, growing up in a family of 13 children, My friend told me a long time ago. She said, "I never knew that 13 children can be spoiled. Your mother and father spoiled you." But my father was a Pentecostal pastor.
Mhm.
He's the father of the state under Bishop Bonner. My mother, after having her 13th child, became a nurse. She went back to school. And I have pictures of her with a class of young women. She's the most mature one there, and she became the nurse of. She got all the awards. I mean, she was the nurse of the month. Just so many wonderful things. But coming out of a family that prays has really grounded my situation to the point where I have this compassion. My sister calls me Mrs. Santa Claus because she said, "You will have two pennies and you'll give them all away," and I will. And I'm not sure if you know my mother and father had something to do with that. I will say Dad definitely fed the people in the neighborhood. I'm now in the home that I grew up in New Jersey.
This
Um,
is the very house you grew up as a child in.
I'm
And I
sorry.
want to do this in Trenton, New Jersey.
Yes,
You are the music ambassador of Trenton.
I
We're
I
going to get to a little later on in our program. But I know because that was there a lot of music in your church and in your home growing up?
yes. I started in the choir at 9 years old, maybe younger than that, at
Mhm.
Trenton Church of Christ, who's now about to celebrate their 100-year anniversary. My mother played piano. Um, there was always a piano in our home growing up. There was always music around. My brother would play King Pleasure records and jazz music. There was always music. I have sisters and brothers who have lovely voices who could sing circles around this one. But I was the one with the nerve and the personality, the outgoing personality. I was the one when my mother would it was time to shop for the girls. My mom would take me to the stores because I was a size smaller than my older sisters and a size larger than the younger ones. And, there were times when they wanted to go shopping. And a funny story, it's funny now, we laugh about it. I come back from living with my aunt in Long Island. She's my godmother. So my mom was taking me shopping again, the traditional way. She put me in the foyer of my house and she and dad went out to start up the car. And my sisters were so jealous. They beat me up in the foyer, pulled my hat off, had my gloves, and I'm sitting there screaming. My mother's going, "What the heck is going on here?" They were like so upset. But my sister said, "I never touched you again, Sarah." So, but we always had. I can say we had provisions. My father provided for us, um, and as a result of his good work and his faith, I am in this home today.
That's amazing. And one of the things that I really love about this story, and the same thing with my own family, how lucky you and I both are that we came from a time where families sat down to dinner together, they prayed
Yes,
together,
yes,
and
yes.
there was never a night. I left home when I was 18, and there was never a night where my parents did not put their head on their pillows, knowing that their children were snug in their beds in
And
our home.
and yet we had friends who didn't have as many family members, and my mother and father fed them as well. And there's always a community unit and around us. There were aunts and uncles, and there was always a strong family prayer unit community.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, we're blessed. It seems like coming from a family of 13 and 16 had its benefits in ways that we didn't see while growing up, I'm sure. But as a result of that, look at us today.
That's
You know,
amazing. Now, I know you grew up with the music. You're singing in the church choir. At
yes,
what point in your life, you said that you were the one with the nerve. So at what
yes.
point in your life did you say, I can do that? I can pursue this as a career. And what was the defining moment for you?
I think because I had a strict religious background, I wanted to see what else was out there for me. My teacher actually started this movement in the second grade. You didn't get to sing unless you were like a fifth grader, but
Mhm.
I would sing all the time in the classroom. And my teacher decided that they were going to put the youngest child ever in the Thanksgiving program. And I still remember it so vivid today, the big white collar with the big red bow and the black skirt. And I sang a song called With These Hands, I Come to Thee. I never forgot the song. And that started it. I got to have, instead of wearing plaits, I got to have Shirley Temple curls that day. And the teacher said, whatever you do, don't scratch your head. Of course, not used to having curls. I was digging and singing. And but it started in second grade. Then I went on to my junior high school, and the music teacher there, Mr. Cooper, I never forgot his name. He heard me humming coming down the hall, and he said, "Do you have a brother named William?" I said, "Yeah." He said he had a good voice too. He said, "Would you come and join the school choir?" I said, "No, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to sing with the choir." And so I don't know what happened, but when I got home, my mother said, "I heard they asked you to be in the choir." So that there was no discussion. That's all that had to be said. I was in the choir the next day. um, so then I started playing violin as well with the first Black music teacher in the city of Trenton, who just passed 2 years ago. His name is Dr. Thomas Grice. He taught me violin. I went on to Trenton High School in the orchestra, violin player, the only Black face there. If you want to do a fact check, they didn't put my name in the book.
Wow.
So when we were about to look and do research, there's a Black child with the white, no lighting, no good lighting, Richard. And they didn't put my name in the book.
Mm.
So there's history there.
There
Um,
sure. Absolutely.
and in high school, I started singing, pulling up little background groups of, teenagers singing. And we became the Del Capris.
Now, I know that you mentioned earlier, because
Yes.
of your religious background,
Yes.
did your parents allow you to listen to what was being played
Well,
on the radio?
thank you for bringing me back on point. The the issue of being in the church and wanting to see what was beyond that, because we are taught there's so many things in the world. Well, I'm only 14. What is the world?
Mm.
Um, of what, I'm skipped in school. I'm told I have a brain and I'm smart, and all of a sudden I'm rebelling because I want to see what the other side is. All respectful, um, having the energy and the nerve to do those things. I was a cheerleader in school, something that the Pentecostals didn't do. I mean, there were all the things that they stood for. I sort of kind of went against in my own way, but always bearing in mind that my parents would kill me if they found me on the wrong track. Yes, yeah. But
And
that, go ahead.
I mean, one of the things that I really love that you've brought out, and especially with you being the ambassador for music in Trenton, but that you mention these mentors, these great teachers
Yeah,
who made an impact on you. Now, let's
yeah.
face it, Sarah, you have a voice of an angel,
Thank
and uh, but did you ever have any formal singing training?
I, at one time, um, studied for about 2 weeks. He kicked me out, and that was Mr. Marty Lawrence in New York City. He told me I had the ability to move from head tones to chest tones. Oh, do you hear that siren?
I do.
Sorry, I'm sorry. This
That's
is where I
right.
live, folks.
It's the reality. We're live, folks.
Yes. Marty told me that I had the ability to move from head tones to chest tones without any effort. He said, "Who taught that to you?" I said, "I just woke. This is the way I sing. I mean, I woke up this way." And he said, "I can't do anything for you." So I said, "Oh," he said, "just keep doing what you're doing. Watch your diction, and also sing the songs that you love. Because if you don't love the songs you sing, it shows in your talent and your ability to project." I later decided, because I had a soprano voice, that I was going to study opera. I studied opera with a German opera singer um, for 6 months. And then they were actually planning to have me do a presentation, and I chickened out because I didn't want to do it. I did. And this was when the group split up, by the way. So I decided, no, I don't want to do that after studying for 6 months.
Now, was there any particular singer that you aspired to do, that you wanted to emulate when you were listening, or did you really want to set off and do your own thing?
Say that again. I missed the first part.
Was there a particular singer that you aspired to be like?
It's so amazing because I love the male singers like Johnny Mathis.
Whose birthday is today, by the way?
Oh, it is. Oh, Johnny, I love that man so much. That's one of the desires I have, to sing with him. And I only met him once, but I would go to his concerts where I all front row seats and sit there. If he was in New York for a week, I was there every night. And I didn't have the nerve, even though I was a singer and popular. I didn't have the nerve to go backstage. About 3 years ago, he was appearing at the New Jersey Pack Theater, I believe. And David took me, by the way, Rosenberg. And we got to go backstage and take pictures with him. And I still didn't have the nerve to tell him I wanted to sing with him. But Andy Wingham's, there was, the other females, of course, were Aretha. I often pattern my articulation from Sarah Vaughan and Carmen McRae. Nina Simone's Spirit, I love still to this day. But I took the energy of how Carmen would say words, I took a trip. It was always that breath. And then there was Sarah Vaughan. It was going to carry those vowel sounds straight across. And as a result of that, I too started training vocalists and mentoring other young artists. Ruth B being one of them. Big Daddy Kane, the rapper, was a student of mine. So these people really did make an impression upon my singing and my career of talent, vocal talent. Dinah Washington as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Gloria, all these singers. They seem to work for a long time without having ever losing their ability to sing, to vocalize, which brings me to the place where I am today. I'm changing my next project. I trust and hope that my listening audience, including you, Richard, will like the new direction that I'm going in.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I said I can't wait.
Yeah. I'm also back at the writing board, writing songs.
Now,
I was gifted.
How soon after high school did you go to college in the area? I know you went to Philadelphia, and that's where things began to really change in your life. How soon after high school did that happen? And what was your parents' reaction when you said, I am moving to Philadelphia?
Well, let me let you in on a little secret. I was still in high school when I started singing. I was I didn't go to college. I've taken college courses since that time, but I was still in high school. Our management had a tutor for us. We had a chaperone. That was the only way our parents were letting us out of their sight. Patti, Nona, Cindy, was four of us at the time. There was Nona Hendricks, Patricia Holt, who's now Patti LaBelle, Cindy Birdsong, who decided that she no longer wanted to sing with us and flew over to the Supremes. And of course, here I am. But
I'm going to go back for a moment. How you actually met Nona and Patsy, and how
okay, you know that name.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Nona.
Have you ever had her banana pudding?
I've had the cobblers, just about everything. Yeah, Patty's. I think banana pudding. Does she make banana pudding? No, she makes cobblers.
And great macaroni and cheese. We have the same macaroni and cheese recipe.
Macaroni and cheese. Yes. Yeah, she's a great cook. I am too. I'm really a good cook.
Well,
but getting back to how I met Nona, I'm sorry.
I said, when this is all, we're going to get together and cook for each other.
Oh, yes. I make some mean greens. I make duck. I make great duck, turkeys. I like the big things, briskets. Yeah. But I met Nona at a church. Our church youth choir was having a fellowship day with her church. And we went to the church. I had this little bebop group, of course, and we called ourselves the Del Capris. Well, our alto singer decided that they weren't going to be a part of my group any longer. And I went to the church that Sunday, and there was Nona singing a song, and she had the voice that I knew we needed in our group. So I approached her in school the next day, and I said, would you mind being in a group? And she's like, oh, yeah. And to this day, she said she would have been a school teacher had I not approached her, because she said that was the only time that she ever sang, the first and last time that she ever sang for her church choir that day. So that was fate. So Nona joined the group. Cindy and Patti belonged to another group called the Del Capris. However, we had the same manager. And when those girls left Patti's group, the Del Capris, and some left our group, Patti's group was called the Ordettes. When they left my group, the Del Capris, we had the opportunity to be a part of Newtown Records. And so management put us together. Hence that's why Nona and I are from Trenton, New Jersey. Patti and Cindy are the Philadelphia arm, but Cindy also was from Camden, New Jersey. So people would ask us, how did you girls meet? You live in New Jersey. We said there at the time, on the turnpike at Howard Johnson's. That's what we used to tell everyone.
To your parents and how they were responding to all of this happening at this point in your life.
Well, it was a secret in my family's household that I was singing secular music. My mother and my sister inspired me. Dad was always having these evangelistic meetings and trips, and he was busy making a living. And I would, have the rehearsals. We had a woman her name was Eleanor, who took care of us. And, mom wouldn't be there, dad wouldn't be there. And I would tell her every day, I'm going to the church. I'm going to the church. And one day my dad came home early and he said to Eleanor, where's Sarah? Oh, she went to the church. He said, no, I just came from the church. So my story was busted. And then to go on the road, it was not very good in my home. Because there was dad who has a daughter who hadn't finished high school going on to, what is this? And my mother, my older sister, her name is May, and May said, I think that you should let her go, Dad. May was already out of the house, married. I think you should let her go. If you don't, I'm going to adopt her and I'll make sure she goes.
Good for her.
So that was a little difference. And then, of course, my father had to face his bishops and overseers and all that. But I think all that came together at the point that when we were doing the Metropolitan Opera House. That was the first time my father ever laid eyes on us. And Pat and Nona would say, "Oh, Elder Dash wouldn't come to any of the other places. They were too trashy for him. He would only come to, the Metropolitan Opera House." That night, Richard, I should have had that picture here. My parents were the only parents who were photographed at the after party upstairs in the Susan Blonde, a publicist for the record company for Epic Records at that time. She a couple of years ago, she said, "Sarah, I'm sending you this picture. Can you identify the man you're standing next to?" And I'm going, "No, but I see a face on this shoulder. I see another face." I said, "Mom and Dad."
Oh,
So I have it sitting on my piano. Their faces are actually like angels on my shoulder. Yes, but that's what happened. I'm
going to ask a question that you may or may not have an answer to. But at that time, groups, boy groups, girl groups were popping up everywhere.
Yes.
What was it about that era and that was happening in the music scene? And why did that somehow leave us? Because I love these groups at the time. Do you have any theory on that?
Well, I can think about it based upon my history and my feelings, is what you're asking. The Shirelles were the female group. They were the group. They were the ones that, you want to get the hit records like the Shirelles.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were the Cookies, there were, the Honeycombs, there was the Velvelettes, then all of a sudden all of a sudden there became so and so and the so and so. We were Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles, simply because there was another group called the Bluebelles, and Mr. Smokey Robinson decided that he would. We're already at the Apollo, we're playing, and there's a union man saying you can't join the union, and that was a prerequisite for being established in the industry. There was after you had to be a part of the American Federation of Radio and TV. So they're telling us, our paperwork came back. There's a group called the Bluebelles. They're already in the union with this name, except they perform in Europe all the time. So Mr. Robinson said, "Okay, we're Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles." So there we were. But female groups began to transition simply because it's very difficult in life to be a part of another family that isn't your family. They're your extended family. Then you have the business managers and you have the record companies, and invariably, it's truthful that the business part, you don't know the business when you're starting out. There are people who, because you don't know, they don't consider it as robbing you or taking something from you. You just don't know. So we get the best and the most of what you have to give. So that, I would say, kind of left a lot of the groups away. Even, but you have Destiny's Child, who's no longer Destiny's Child. You have, Sisters with Voices, who's no more. Then you have LaBelle. We morphed into LaBelle, separated. We're a unique group within ourselves. We're still performing individually. We come together when necessary. There are people pulling on us as I speak to always do another song and another record together. But girl groups, I feel, they're very rare now. You don't see them anymore.
No.
It's the time. Everybody is about me and individualizing and that sort of thing. So we're Gen.
From the moment that you decided that you were going to launch this group, Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles, how long did it take from you forming the group to your first professional gig? And what are your recollections of that first night that you appeared on stage as a group?
My recollection of that would be the Apollo was uh, we had performed during record hops with, the disc jockeys in various places at skating rinks and, promoting the record. As I look back now, my wisdom allows me to focus on that, to express it that way with you, because then we didn't realize we were just playing, and we'd be at these huge record hops, and there would be the record, and a lot of the times we had to mime to our voices. But lo and behold, 3 months later, we're at the Apollo Theater stage. Ralph Cooper was the DJ, and he looks at us coming down the stairs to go on the stage, and we had these bell-bottom outfits on, and he was like, "Oh no, you won't." And we said, "Oh yes, we will." And there was no girls in pantsuits. Nah. So Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles, as LaBelle, we were always unique in our own way.
Well,
But going on stage for the first time at the Apollo,
I want to go there for a minute, because
okay,
your fashion sense, your
yes,
clothes that you wore in your shows were so outrageous, and I say this in a complimentary way, and over the top. When, where, and how did that come about? Because you were as well known as you were for your music, you were equally well known for your look. You had a look and a sound that was uniquely yours.
we thank Larry Legaspi for the space look, but when we went to, we were tired of being who we were, and we went to London with new management and new direction. And we were encouraged to be individuals, like the rock stars. They didn't have the same suits on. Everyone had their individual style. We came back singing as individuals, but we were still a group. We were no longer singing the soft oohs with crescendos. We were now not screaming, but singing out you know, with tones that were elongated and sharpened and staccato, and just, in other words, we were funky. And we were classic at the same time. So that encouraged, the looks had to come from that, because now we're developing as individuals. And not that we didn't discuss, it didn't make sense if I was going to be in a beaded gown and Nona was going to be in jeans and Pat was going to be in ruffles and sequins. It all still had to make sense, but bringing the individual styles. As I said, Larry Legaspi was the one who nailed it for us and brought in the, space looking astro types clothes. But, performing together for the first time at the Apollo was when we really knew. We only had 2 songs to sing, and we wanted to sing Gloria Lynn's Impossible. And there we were in the lobby crying to the owners of the theaters, "You're not being fair to us." And they're looking at us like, "Who are these kids?" And as a result of that, we became the sweethearts of the Apollo, which, it's, and as individuals, we've all had the opportunity to appear there again,
And
Yeah.
where were you the first time that you heard yourself on the radio?
I heard myself on the radio as a solo artist. It was thrilling. As a group, we were teenagers. Of course, we almost tore the car up, screaming, beating on the back of the seats. That's us! That's us! Oh my God! Yes, I can't express the feeling. And when to hear yourself on the radio, even today, I get calls from people. One of the people that work with me. He drives our family and he takes care of us when we need a car. Bernard Hill, I hope he doesn't mind me calling him out. He called me like 7:30 in the morning. He said, "I'm listening to you." Really, Bernard? So it was important that you called me at 7:30. You knew I was awake, didn't you? But you know, you get those calls as well. It's a feeling of accomplishment.
Mhm.
It's a feeling that your work has gone from rehearsing in a rehearsal hall to recording studio, and now to the waves of the world, the airwaves of the world.
I want to talk a little bit about that time in our history. Because I grew up listening to the radio as well, and you'd hear your favorite song come on the radio. You wouldn't always have, at least I didn't have the money to buy the album or something. So if a favorite song would come on the radio, I'd be dancing around the house.
Yes.
And I feel that, you know, the music industry has changed so much that you don't, you know, artists don't get the kind of airplay that those of your era and my, you know, growing up and everything received. As far as the music industry itself is concerned, what do you love most about where we are now in the music industry? And what do you miss the most?
That's a great question during the pandemic time, you know? It's, well, you know, what I miss in the music industry today is that having the ability to go and meet the people that play your records. You sit down with them, you have the dinners, you have the meetings with the people in the record company, in the we call labels. I miss the camaraderie of uh, you know, record label versus artist, and having to sit down and talk about what song you should be released. But the one thing that I enjoy most right now is that we have the freedom to choose our own music. We have the freedom to write our own songs. We are taught to believe. You know, there was a time when they would say, "Oh no, you can't write that song. Oh no, you can't do that." But we having the ability, which is what LaBelle became, to have our own production company, to sign yourself as a production agency rather than an individual. That's a whole nother long story. But the freedom of expression is what I really admire today. What I don't miss is the fact that having that controlled situation behind you is, you know, it's the difference between being Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles, Sarah Dash. You know, Sarah Dash now can write her own songs. She can take a production to the label or a person that's interested, or Sarah Dash can be an indie artist, which I can put out my own music. I can hire producers to work with me on all of my choosing. I can write the songs and sing the songs that I believe in, that is representative of my life, of where I'm going as an individual, as a woman. And I can support the people that love the music. And the different genres of music are not limited to what I can do and what I can feel and express. I'm free as an artist now, because that is what the liberties that I feel today.
Now, before we run out of time, I really want to focus on your solo career. But before we get there, a lot of the music that you sang with Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles was very suggestive. It was out there. And how did
with
you?
Patti LaBelle the Bluebelles, we sang older type.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Did I cut you off?
No,
you sound like? Did I cut you off?
No, I can hear you. Hello.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
As Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles, can you hear me?
Yes.
Did something happen?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Are you back? Are we back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're experiencing. Okay. So I may have cut off your question. I heard something about singing
a lot of your music
the
was very
song.
suggestive at that time. Yes.
As Patti LaBelle and the Bluebelles, we sang traditional songs like "You Never Walk Alone," "Danny
Mhm.
Boy." We were really oddities at
Mhm.
that time. As LaBelle, we sang, yeah, "Going Down to Your River Makes Me Shiver." Nona was writing all that stuff. That little girl, that woman, you know, you know, I come like the pouring rain each time you call my name.
Mm.
And yeah, but we did sing a lot of political songs as well. I believe I finally made it home. Sunday's news, I question in my mind, you know,
Mhm.
um, songs like we combined Gil Scott Heron's "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised" with the group song "Oh There's Something in the Air," and Nona, Patty, and myself, and we rapped too. We did the same verses that Gil Scott Heron wrote, so we were rapping about, the revolution will not be televised. There will be no people in your toilet singing "Come Scrub Me." you know, um, soap operas won't be so relevant because the
Mhm.
revolution will not be televised. Now, someone said, Sarah, the revolution is going to be televised because it's being televised now. Well,
Yes.
no, the revolution starts in your mind, darling.
Mhm.
That is, no one has a camera in your head but you. So it will not be televised. You'll It will be live because it will be happening
Mhm.
inside of you. Uh-oh.
No, we'll just keep
So
going because there's a
that,
little.
but the suggestive songs for LaBelle, I mean, Nona was wearing handcuffs on her hip, and Patty, I mean, we were just wild. Me and the silver bra better not do that now. Uh,
Sure you could.
as
Sure
they
you
said,
could.
waistline gone.
But
Yeah,
okay, I
but we
want to
did
jump
have
ahead. You know, I so many evenings did I find myself dancing to Sinnerman, which I mean, it was such a disco song hit for you, and I know that a lot of people gave disco music, short shrift or a bad name or anything, but I absolutely loved that era. What are some of your favorite memories of hearing your music being played in the clubs and seeing people dancing to your music?
my fame playing Studio 54, going and doing the disco clubs. There were a lot of happening gay clubs, and we wouldn't go on until like 3 in the morning sometimes. Um, my people calling me on New Year's Eve saying, "We opened our first song played in our club tonight was Center Man. Don't be touching me." That song was written by Carol George and Rob Hegel, and it was the last song on the album that you're presenting that you have a position there. It was the last song that I recorded, and I did that song in one take.
Wow,
Yes,
it's
one
amazing.
take. Um, David Sanborn is playing the sax on there. You know, um, but to see people dance and the people taking off their clothes when I get to the high parts, and by that time they're stripping and they're like, "Don't touch me, don't hold me," and it inspired me as I sang live to be a little bit risque too, flip up the skirt and that sort of thing. But it's always good, like I said, Richard, to look at people enjoying what you do, because it lets you know that the hard work does pay off. It's important that we have a sense of self when we're performing, but to see the audience just lose their complete composure, it's amazing. It really is.
Now, I want to come full circle before we run out of time. You are the music ambassador of Trenton, New Jersey.
Yes, I
How did
am.
that come about? And what does this title mean to you?
Okay, it came about with the mayor here at the time. His name was Eric Jackson, Mayor Eric Jackson. He found out that I had come back to the city of Trenton, and he said, I would really love for you to be music ambassador one day. And I said, sure. Then it started becoming a reality when I created a course with the College of New Jersey called Trenton Makes Music. Two professors and I created a study course for the students there. And the Trenton papers picked it up. It went national. The next thing I know, I'm on national TV discussing what Trenton means to me, because Trenton has had some issues here because we're a small city. All the things that happen here gets blown out of proportion, in my opinion, to the max. And so with that, Mayor Jackson said, okay, we're going to make this happen. At the same time, we were Patti LaBelle, Nona Hendricks, and myself, we were receiving stars in the city of Philadelphia. So we had my inauguration in the city of Trenton the day before we had our stars. And what that ambassadorship means to me is that I get to talk about the good things in the city of Trenton. I get to talk about the art community, because there's a great music and arts community here. I get to tell people that you can travel around the world, and if you choose to come back to the city of Trenton, it's okay, because you've made your mark. And now you can not that I sit in Trenton, I'm quite busy, but I get to meet people of different organizations to promote our art here. I'm also a trustee for the New Jersey Capitol Philharmonic Orchestra here. I'm one of the founders to bring it back 7 years ago. We always had the Trenton Symphony, but the president of our board, Gloria Tetti, and her husband always had Peter Nero here. And when the symphony was dissolved, we sat down in the offices of John Hatch, and we said, we're going to bring the symphony back. So I get to participate on the board of the orchestra. I get to work. Now my mayor here now is Reed Garciara. I get to, let me tell you, Reed Garciara is our first openly gay mayor here. And he is LaBelle crazy. It gets to be a little ridiculous sometimes, you know what I mean, in a good way. But he loves music, and so he asked me to stay on after Mayor Jackson's term was up. So I have this position that is appointed, and we have it just feels so good, because now I have all Trenton musicians. I call them the Trenton All-Stars. My backup singers are all Trenton backup singers. I have great musicians, and these musicians were sort of, you come together and now you become a unit. But these are very smart musicians. They read, they produce, all individual stuff. They write, they work, and they're believers of Christ. They all go to church. They belong in the church music ministry. So I'm really blessed, a woman my age, to have young musicians working with me that have a sound substance. So, I went around your question. Of course, I can.
No, it's perfect. And Sarah, I want to say, first of all, a woman of your age, you're ageless. And we are so blessed with you. I can't believe this. We are almost at the end of our show. And yes, we are almost there. We're going to have to do this again if you'll come back.
Yes, I feel like there's so much more to talk about. And Richard Skipper, you are the best. You are.
That means so much to me, especially coming from you. I want to say, before we end the show, I want to thank everybody who tuned in today. Some of your friends are here. I'll mention a couple of names. Boogie Bobby is here. Pamela Everett Goodman.
Yes, that's my nephew.
Del Victor. Michael Gordon. David Joseph is here. So many incredible
Hi,
friends.
David. See, David is our connector.
And
Go
David's
ahead. I'm
anniversary
sorry.
is coming up, and we're going to celebrate in Provincetown. I can't wait to see him.
Oh,
But I want
wow. Can I come?
I wish you would. I want to thank
Yes.
everyone for being here. And if you enjoyed today's show, please go to my website, richardskipper.com, and put your thoughts about the show. That helps to boost me in other markets. I always end every show, and today we're ending as well September. We're jumping into October tomorrow. And what a great way to end this month. But I always tell everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. I want you all to go to your Facebook friends list, go to the third name that pops up, and reach out to that person today and let them know what they mean to you. Not with an email, not with a text. Pick up the phone and call them. And just go out and do nice things for other people. As my dear friend David Friedman says, we're all in this together. We're just not in the same boat. And before we sign off, Sarah, I'm turning the stage over to you. Any message that you want to leave for everyone who's tuning in today on what we're going through now, your thoughts, your prayers, anything that you want to impart to your friends and family?
I'd like to say to all of us who are going through this time and we're looking at the election of a new president, it is important that you register for census. You need to also register to vote. And then we need to pray about positive change for our country.
Amen.
We're living in a time right now that those of you who don't believe in prayer, I will tell you that you're phonies, because anytime something bad happens, you go, oh my God, who are you calling out? Okay, so get your faith clothes, your faith wardrobe, put your faith shoes on. And before you go and have a confrontation, have a conversation with the things that are bothering you and with the things that you feel you would like to change. None of us are above the law. Laws are not for the ones who break. It is not for those who keep it. It's for the ones who break it. We faced a situation never ever sees again. It was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
But most of all, for all of us, it's the music that's holding us together. Music. Great. I'm going to be writing I'm writing my memoirs now. So you're going to actually have a time to read what I have to say about myself spiritually. But I'm asking. Yeah. Yes, you're going to be the first one. You're going to be the first one if I don't get knocked off from telling the truth. No. But I just say, everyone, just enjoy your life. Have fun. Work, exercise, gather. We can't give each other a hug, but do that in your mind, because the power of thought is powerful. So, I love you all. And I thank all of you for coming on to this Richard Skipper show today and being a part of our conversation. We have more to talk about. It just seems like there's not enough time, of course. But I'd like to thank Melba for introducing me to David, who David introduced me to Richard, and Melba Moore. She's a great person. And I want to say thank all of you who helped me celebrate my birthday last month in August. It was one of the best times of my life. God bless you all. May he keep you strong and well in spirit, mind, and smiles.
I love you.
Love you more. Bye. Bye.